Hey, what's going on, guys and gals? Welcome back to Cube World. Yes, indeed, I said Cube World. We have signs of life with Cube World. The game hasn't been updated yet. However, the developer, Wole, has released a video showing off the new questing system, and I'll put a link to that video in the description down below if you want to go check it out. What this means is, Wole is alive. He hasn't taken the money and run away like a lot of people had assumed when he disappeared for a year and hasn't updated the game, but that's not the case. Wole is a recluse. He's working at his own pace. He is still working on Cube World, and if you've already paid for it, you're going to get the game. Don't worry about it. But I also wanted to take this time and use this particular video to talk about another game called Trove. Trove is a very similar looking game to Cube World, and I've been uploading a little bit of Trove to my channel, and a lot of people are asking what it's all about. And of course there's the other ones with the knee-jerk reaction saying it is a clone, a ripoff of Cube World. So I'm here to clear up the air a little bit here and at least talk about some of the mechanical and technical differences between these two games, because yes, they do look a lot alike. At first glance, they look almost identical in some cases. However, if you dig a little deeper and you play both games, which I have done, you will see that these games provide very different experiences. So I hope to use this time during this video. I've got some pre-recorded game footage here, and I'm just adding this audio after the fact. So hopefully by the end of the video, you'll see that the two are very different games, and maybe that'll help you decide which one is more your style if you haven't made a purchase yet. So let's move on. I've got an outline here. I'm just going to go down the list. First, a bit of a disclaimer. Both games are still in development, both in alpha stages, in fact. So anything that I say here is subject to change. And I'm also not an expert in either game, and I don't follow them with a fine-tooth comb. I've played both. I've played Cube World quite a bit, and I am playing Trove lately. So the comparisons I'm going to be making here are based on my actual gameplay experiences. I don't know what's coming down the pike really for both or either of these games or how things will be changed, but at the time of this recording, these are my experiences. Okay, guys, I'm going to go through this outline pretty quickly and just spew forth a ton of information about both of these games. There's not going to be a lot of emotion involved. I'm going to be very clinical because I want to give you as much information as I possibly can in a short amount of time. So let's jump right in, try to keep up. Who makes these games? Cube World is made by Picroma. Picroma is a small company consisting of two people, Wole and his wife. Trove is made by Tryon Worlds. They have a track record with a couple of MMOs, Rift being one, Arc-Age is the other, which is currently in development. The current state of these games, well, they're both still in early access / alpha, kind of, cold crowdfunding stage, where you can purchase the game through the website and you get instant access to the game right away, and you can play it in its current state. Both are highly playable and quite a bit of fun, in my opinion. Cube World hasn't been updated in a year. You run the patcher and it says, oh, no updates, and you look at the last patch and it was literally July of 2013. That may change very soon. Trove, however, is relatively new to the scene. I only found it a few weeks ago, but they do update on a regular basis, usually 1 or 2 patches every week. Lots of fun stuff in there, lots of content to play around with, new toys, so forth and so on. That's how you do early access, in my opinion. That's about all the opinion I'm going to have in this until the very end. Anyway, community involvement with Cube World. Wole is a recluse, like I said earlier. He's working in peace. He doesn't want any distractions, and that's fine, but what you get out of him is cricket, cricket. That's about it. You get a tweet once every couple of months with the picture or something like that, and then he's gone. Trove, Tryon developers are quite active on the subreddit. They have a subreddit, they have forums, and they're on there constantly, and they also use Twitter and so forth and so on. So now let's get into the actual gameplay, the genre. Both are action adventure RPGs. You have a character, you fight monsters, you take their loot, you level up, you have gear, there's crafting and a little bit of building, in Trove anyway, and so forth and so on. Cube World is primarily a single-player game. This could be a very important distinction to you. However, you can run a little server with, and you can play co-op with some friends on a private server. And I think there's a technical limit there. I'm not really sure, but it is primarily a single-player experience with small group co-op. Apparently, Wole is going to add in PvP arenas. That's something I've read somewhere. I'm not really sure. Trove, on the other hand, does not have a single-player component at all. It is an online multiplayer MMO. It's played on public servers, hosted by Tryon. So when you connect to the game, you hop into a hub, and there's a bunch of other people in there. And then you can go off into an adventure portal. I'll talk more about this in a minute. But there is no single-player experience. However, you can have your own homeworld. And you can sort of make that private. I know the developers are working on that right now, where you can lock it down and just play in there on your own if you want. We'll talk more about that in a second. Character classes. In Cube World, you can customize your character by picking a race and a class. There's a lot more options, at least right now in the alpha. Trove, on the other hand, has currently 3 classes, and they're pretty well defined. I mean, they're static. You can't modify them anyway. You can make different faces and things through the game, or in the game, using certain, a little barbershop-like bench. But beyond that, you don't actually customize the character at startup like you do with Cube World. The actual worlds that you will be playing on, well, they both are procedurally generated voxel-based worlds, and they look a lot alike, don't they? Cube World is open and borderless and endless. You can wander forever. It's like Minecraft, essentially. You can just go off in a single direction for just about ever. I know there's some technical limit there, but that's how it works. Trove is uses much smaller, dynamically instanced maps with definitive borders. They are surrounded by ocean, so they do have borders. These are created and accessed via portals. Adventure maps are destroyed if nobody is on them and are recreated when a player steps into a portal. Now, I'm just reading this right now because there's a lot of information here. Adventure maps are designated for specific levels, e.g. 1 through 3, 4 through 5, 6 through 7, and so on. So yeah, the way this works is you're in the hub, you step through a portal, and you go to an adventure map. It does have defined borders, and there might even be a bunch of other people running around. And you will go off into the world and fight monsters and take their stuff. However, you can reach the border, and you'll have to either turn around and go the other direction, or go off to another portal. And like I said, these are created dynamically as you step through the portals. Biomes. Both games have several types of landscapes, forest, jungle, wasteland, ice, mountains, meadow, river, hills, caves, whatever. They all, pretty much not exactly the same, but you get the idea. They do have varied terrain types. Cube World's biomes are much larger and more organic. This is sort of opinion. Borders between biomes are more natural and seamless. They seem that way to me, anyway. Trove is small, themed, more rigidly defined borders, and the biomes actually repeat on these maps. So each adventure world will have, say, 3 to 4 repeating biomes. So you might have like a wilderness, a forest, and then a river biome, and then another forest biome, and another river biome. And there may be 3 to 4 varieties, but each adventure world is already pre-set for those types of biomes. So you will never, for example, get a Robo Waste, I think it's called, on an adventure world 1 through 3. As far as I know, and again, I'm not completely clear on all this stuff, so you might have to do a little due diligence, but that has been my experience so far. Dungeons. Well, they both have randomly scattered dungeons populated by monsters. Cube World, in the old alpha anyway, the dungeons are more rare and usually have a final boss that you fight for some special loot. Trove has 2 types of dungeons. One's called a lair, and they're very common. They're scattered throughout the adventure maps, and they're just very small little adventure areas. You go in, you fight a few guardians, you find the boss, and the boss usually drops some type of gear for you. They also have a much larger dungeon, and the dungeons have several guardians and bosses within them, but they're a little bit harder to find. But every adventure map will have a half dozen of them or so. Towns and points of interest. Cube World has towns that are just randomly generated and scattered around the world. As you're wandering, you'll just encounter one maybe, and they're populated with a bunch of cute, friendly little NPCs and innkeepers and merchants and trainers and quest givers, and it's very natural and organic, and it gives it a nice feeling of a living, breathing little town. Trove does not have NPC towns. Instead, like I said, Trove has a hub world where there's a lot of other people that will build there. They'll build on cornerstones, and a cornerstone is something that every player has. It's just a small plot of land that you can build on, and that is your own, and only you can build on it. And you can build a house, you can build a shop, you can do whatever you want, and that cornerstone can be brought with you to any place you ever go, any other map, an adventure world or another player's home world, etc. It is persistent. Quests. Cube World. Wole just released a video on quests. I'll put a link down below to that in the description, and you can check it out. The revamped questing system looks really nifty. I think the whole idea on Cube World is that you will find these quests while out adventuring. So it's going to be, again, a kind of an organic and natural thing, and it's just going to happen. You'll be wandering around in the woods, and you find a little shack, and you go inside, and there's someone there that sends you off on a quest. Trove does not have quests. Not really. They're just MMO-type adventures. You know, you wander around, you find a lair or a dungeon, you go in, you fight, and you leave. I'm not sure if that's going to be added in the future. It might be. I don't really know. We'll just have to wait and see. NPCs, also known as non-player characters, and mobs, also known as mobiles or monsters or animals. Well, Cube World has loads of wandering monsters and animals, and even NPCs, non-player characters, who are similar to you. You know, it might be like an elf warrior running around out in the world, or you might run into a whole group of kobolds or goblins or dwarves, and they're either going to be friendly or they're going to be hostile. But I tell you what, it gives the world a real living, breathing feeling to it. When you're out running around, all of a sudden you hear footsteps, you turn around, and you see this group of guys. And if they're hostile, they might attack you. Well, they will attack you. Or if they're friendly, you can stop and chat. They don't really say anything right now or do anything, but it really makes it feel like you're not alone. It's kind of cool like that. Trove, less variety of monsters as far as I can tell right now. Again, it is alpha. More will be added, I'm sure. It doesn't really have any animals that I've seen. Everything is just an enemy that you run into and you kill it, and there's no NPCs. So, I mean, there's a lot of players, of course, but those are not non-player characters. Those are actual player characters, so they can't really be considered NPCs, can they? Right. Okay, moving on. Combat. Both have very interactive combat. Aiming is necessary. There's no auto-aim. There's no just button mashing and letting your character do all the work. You actually too have to move. There's maneuvering, there's dodging, there's positioning, there's aiming, there's hopping and leaping, and it's really quite fun in both of them. I enjoy the combat in both of the games. It's very similar in both Cube World and Trove. Pets. In Cube World, you can tame many of the animals that you will encounter out in the wild. And even some monsters, in fact. So you'll be out adventuring in the world, exploring, and you might run into an alligator. And if you have the proper food to tame that alligator, you can do it. So you walk up, you put the food out in front of you, and it will be tamed. And then you can have that pet, and you can carry it around with you. You can even ride some of the pets. Very cool stuff. Trove, you start out with a basic pet, and you can buy new pets at the store. And I'm pretty sure you can earn pets through gameplay, but I'm not entirely positive about that. However, depending on the package that you purchase to get into early access, you might have a pet that comes with your package. I do. I have I've got like 3 or 4 pets with the package that I purchased. Okay, I've already kind of touched upon this, but as far as mounts go, in Cube World, you can ride some of the pets that you tame. In Trove, you might actually start out with a mount. Again, it depends on the early access package that you purchased. And you can also buy new mounts in the game through the store. And as far as I know, you can earn them as well. In fact, I think they just added a new mount that you can earn through play in the Shadow Arena. I don't really know much about it. I haven't played in the Shadow Arena yet, but you can earn some type of mount there. Okay, on to crafting. Both games are recipe based. So what that means is you need to know a recipe before you can craft an item. And you'll start the game with just a few basic recipes, and you'll go off into the world and adventure, and you'll discover new recipes basically through gameplay. So then you find a recipe, you learn it, and that'll open up another option for you to do some more crafting. With regards to Cube World, you can craft gear. So weapons, armor, and jewelry, and food, of course. And there's also a nifty voxel weapon customization system. In Trove, you cannot craft your own gear, but there is an enormous amount of recipes for things like home decorations and furnishings and building items, vanity items, fun items such as piñatas and balls and just a whole bunch of stuff. There's lots and lots of recipes. Trove also has a player-made item submission program, so if you use an offline tool, a third-party tool to make up these weapons and armor and so forth, you can send them in to try on, and they might add them to the game. So that's pretty cool. Okay, let's talk about building and constructing. So Cube World doesn't have any building or constructing right now, and I don't think it's ever going to be added. And I don't think Wole, the developer, has any plans to add any sort of robust building anyway. He has talked about home ownership. So you might be able to have a home somewhere, but I don't know if you're going to build that home or just buy a pre-built house or whatever. I don't really know, so I can't speak intelligently about that. What I do know is Trove has a very robust building system in place right now. It's very much like Minecraft, for example. However, you switch into sort of a build mode, which isn't really a creative mode like Minecraft. You don't get access to everything. You do have to collect blocks to build with, but once you're in this build mode, you can just build a house or a statue or whatever your heart desires, essentially. Resource gathering. In Cube World, you will gather food and potion ingredients and some wood and some other very few items scattered around the world. There's not that much to collect because there's no building. You don't have to look around for building materials like you do in Trove. So in Trove, you've actually got to go out and you have to gather building blocks, and there's all sorts of colored blocks all around in the various adventure maps. There's also special blocks that you will hunt down, and it's kind of fun, in fact, looking for these certain blocks. And when you find them, you can get very excited because you need them to craft certain items. So yeah, there is definitely resource gathering in Trove, much more so than in Cube World. Okay, folks, I think we're going to wrap it up here. I hope I've given you enough food for thought so that you can make a wise purchasing decision when you're looking at Trove and Cube World and thinking, wow, they look exactly alike. Which one is for me? So, and that was kind of the whole purpose of this video. Just to give you the facts, look at some of the mechanical and technical differences, and I think if you watch this video and you listen to me, then clearly I've demonstrated that these two games, while they do look a lot alike on the surface, are very different, offer very different gaming experiences. So hopefully I've helped you in that respect. I think what I'll do is wrap this up with a sort of my feelings conclusion about each game, because I get a lot of people asking me that. It's like, Paul, which game do you like best? Because I know if you like it, then I'll like it. And that might be true, because if you watch me, you probably know what I like. So let me finish up with that, and then we'll be done. So here's how I see it. I see Cube World as definitely more of an explorer's game. It's a kind of a quiet, casual, mystical adventure into the unknown. I love that kind of stuff, right? You got this endless, borderless world. You can just wander forever, and you're gonna encounter NPCs wandering around. You're gonna find dungeons, and there's gonna be a town. You're gonna find some animals, and you might be able to tame them. You can actually glide on a hang glider. You can sail down rivers, which I love doing that. You can ride on a lion, a horse, or an alligator to get around. You can do all this solo. You can do it by yourself and never have to worry about running into another person, ever. So you're going to be the only one out there, and you're going to be discovering uncharted territories for your lonesome. The world is your oyster. Of course, if you want to have companionship, you certainly can. You can do this with a friend or two in co-op. You know, you can have a little server, and you can do it piecemeal or together or whatever. I really enjoy the wanderlust of Cube World. Absolutely. So now with Trove, it's definitely more of a social experience. So it's more of an MMO, a massively multiplayer online game with a lot of other people around that you can hang out with, you can chat with, you can work on big community building projects, you can have a homeworld and invite people to it, you can let them build a home in your homeworld, which, by the way, I have done all this. I do have a homeworld. You can trade with other players, you can go on adventures with other players, but keep in mind that you're always going to be bumping into other people. There's always people online. Even right now during early access with the very small number of people playing the game, there are people everywhere. You will always be able to go to an adventure portal and a new one will allegedly be created for you, and you might be the only person in there for a few minutes, but other people will start popping in over time. So that's a consideration for a lot of people. Some people don't want that. They just want a single-player experience. And if that's the case, then your path is clearly defined for you. You want Cube World. I like them both. I play them both. I enjoy them both. And again, they are very different experiences for me. So I don't have a favorite. They do different things. Each one of them scratches a certain itch, I guess you could say. Right? So I guess with that, we're going to call it here. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you did, a like is always appreciated. Share this with your friends. If anyone's interested in Cube World or Trove, let them watch it and listen, and hopefully this will help them too. All right, take care, folks. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.